Everybody, welcome back to the Dronelicious show. We have a very special episode for you today. Joining me, as always, is my co-host and cohort, Santiago. And we have with us
everyone,
a couple of epic guests. We have Reiner Kevin from X-Class and our main guest, Justin Haggerty from the International Drone Racing Association, giving us all the details about the awesome events that he has planned coming up for this year. So yeah, before we get into all that, I want to kind of get into, this. Thank you all for tuning in to the show and signing up on the page. It does a big thing when you sign up and join the live chat, which I hope is working. Yeah, there it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is.
Right on. So, hey, everybody. Hey, Scrat, the Game Hounds. Oh, Taka. Oh, cool. Humboldt. We've got Humboldt here. Holy crap. That's so cool. So, for those that know, Humboldt 710 is the freestyle champion of the world and a badass racing pilot. He's going to be up on DR1's micro series coming up with Colby. So, if you want to watch that, please do and cheer them on because I love those guys. They're amazing. Yeah, and going on from that, check out the all-new episode of Drone Trippin'. We go beautiful Hawaii on this one. This one features me, Colby, and Johnny FPV as we hit the island and see all the beautiful sights. We kind of challenge each other to find the best location to fly at, and I don't know. I think it was a close one. I think we all had a really cool location. I chose palm trees. I think Johnny chose a mountain, and Colby chose some really cool graffitied park locations. So yeah, check that out. It's a lot of fun. airviews.com/user/drone trippin'. And then coming up, we have something also really special I wanted to share. A very dear friend of mine, Liberimo. I met this guy out in Hawaii during Drone Worlds. And it was the first time that I ever had the really kind of awesome chance of flying against another 3D pilot. And this dude is doing some crazy 3D building dives. And if you haven't checked out his channel, it's crazy. He only has like 70 subscribers. And I think this guy is better than I am. So if you love what I do, subscribe to Liberimo. It's, let me make sure I got this on the screen here so you can all see his actual thing. Oh no, I'm breaking it. The internet, it's breaking. Yeah, so it's LIBERRIMO. And yeah, dude, like his stunts are so sick. I just absolutely love him. He's such a kind guy, and please subscribe to him. It'd mean the world to me. Yeah, so that's kind of the basics. Getting into that, we have the Dronelicious giveaway this week. I think I've got about $150 worth of propellers that we're going to be giving away to some lucky pilots. A mix of 3D, some of the newer GemFan propellers, and a mix of some of the new APC stuff, like basically some of the hottest props out right now. Just a nice grab bag of everything, and basically the only way you can get the Zoe Special Edition 3D propellers. So if you want to get those before everyone else does, please subscribe to the Twitch channel, share one of the episodes on Facebook, and chat. Leave a message in chat. And I'm going to use those 3 things to pick our winner for the week, and I'll announce it on Thursday. So feel free to do any of those 3 things between now and then for either this show or the next one. And again, I appreciate you all sharing. Oh God, this shot. Oh my God. Oh, I'm so jealous he got to fly there. So yeah, so again, check out all that cool stuff coming up. Gotta fix this real quick.
Hey, also the Dronelicious Facebook group and page. We're trying to make our best for improving our feedback and all that the people has tell us about the Twitch chat, Twitch page, so we can improve it to make it more to the community. So tune over there.
Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in and sharing and just kind of being on the website. Like, it's awesome. We've had a really good response for the first week, and I just love the fact that the show's new, but we already have a really nice small audience, and it's growing. So thank you all. And I think, I want to say this is behind the scenes view, everybody. This is what I kind of do to get ready for the show. Oh yeah, before I forget, coming up, you can tune into the FPV Rod podcast, where I sit down with Ruben from Sweep Wings, and we talk all things FPV. And it's a really good episode. I loved it. It's 3 hours of me just chatting with Ruben, and we get weird. If you like it weird, check out FPV Raw podcast, because I like it weird. And pending that, I think that is it. I think we should get into the main show. So, joining me again, I have Justin Haggerty from the IDRA, the International Drone Racing Association, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, international drone racing associations on the planet, because, that's the only planet we're on. IDRA has been around a long time. They have been around just about as long as the Drone National DSA group. A lot of you know them for joining forces with the DSA and then splitting after they realized the stench of Scott and all that BS. So now that the DSA has died and the phoenix of IDRA is rising, we have Justin Haggerty on the show to tell us about all the freaking awesome stuff that he has coming up. I hear ESPN might be involved. I know it's some international drone racing, some team races, some really, really cool stuff that I think is going to push the sport forward. So Justin, if I have missed anything, please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. Thanks for the introduction, Kelly. That was actually pretty humorous. And thanks everyone for having me on. So we hit our 2-year mark. What was it, the beginning of April? And that was pretty crazy for us. Just to be able to do this for 2 years is a blessing. So that's something that we're happy about. I know we've been through a lot. I mean, this community has been through a lot in the past 2 years or more. A lot of different branding changes, face changes, identity changes, the way we do things, race formats, different leaders in terms of like what pilots are we focusing on, you name it. So there's been a lot of dynamics, variables that have shifted. So for us to kind of still be in the game and continue to try to build this hobby, in many ways it still is, into a sport. That's why we do it. So about the whole, what you were talking about, the whole DSA thing. So I know last year that kind of, and we played a role in it, and I won't say that I didn't have any role in what had happened, which is unfortunate because it did hurt the sport a lot and it hurt the community a lot, and I'm still feeling the negative effects from it. When we speak with certain companies and we present them opportunities, let's say like Dover Internationals, that's upcoming, and we would speak with them a couple months ago, and they have no trust or faith in the sport because of some of the failures of last year. And me being a part of some of the failures of last year, I'm trying to rebuild and trying to earn the trust of some of those companies, try to bring them back into the fold. And it sucks because, we started last year off with a bang with the World Drone Prix in Dubai. Crazy, like we go from that and we get to the point where, okay, well, there's a lot of competition out there. We didn't really know what DRL was doing. We started to hear about DR1. And at first, kind of the vision that both us and Drone Nationals had was similar, somewhat. My original plan was, because we did the California Cup, and that was going to be the test model to then take that and do multiple Cup Series, do Cup Series on the continental level, and then you would have Drone Nationals feed into those continental cups, and then you would all feed into a World Cup. And we started piecing that together last year. Once we started the merger negotiations with Scott, that kind of fell to the wayside, and all the attention went to Drone Nationals and Drone World. And so we had
differing visions, right? I mean, he wanted to do set 2 races a year, and you wanted to hold series of races.
Yeah, but when we originally started to negotiate, it was all going to be inclusive. It was all going to come together, right, and build into a World Cup. But that was a lie. And so we had planned a 6-race North America Cup, and that got canceled. Yep. The only race that happened was the Tempe race.
Right.
We had put together an 8-race Euro Cup. That got canceled, and all of those races went to Nigel and Ursa. We had like 5 races that we put together for the Asia Cup that got canceled and got handed over to D1.
Right.
So a lot of the stuff behind the scenes that we started to plan got either canceled or handed over to another organization. And all the attention went to Drone Nationals and Drone World. And
so what was that? What was the thing within the organization? Like, what was the sign that it was going wrong then? Because from the understanding, you had the understanding that you're going to have the World Cup, it was going to feed into it. Like, where was the crack in the sidewalk? Like, where was things going wrong, I guess, was the biggest question I have.
So, and this is where, I guess this is maybe the fact that I don't want to blame the fact that I'm in the Army for this reason, but I think just me not being around 24/7 is part of the reason. When we started the negotiations and started the process of the merger in the springtime, I left for a month-long training exercise. And when I came back, all of those other series had been passed off, and we were not doing them anymore.
Right.
And additionally, a lot of the figures on our sales tracker, like here's our tracker on Google Sheets by company, here's all the people we're speaking with, and this is the money that from our side that we're expecting to raise towards Drone Worlds and Drone Nationals. Here's the money that Scott and his team, Rotor Sports, are speculating that they're going to bring in. For, let's say, said company, initial discussion, we're interested on $200,000 sponsorship. Now they're signing for $10,000, $20,000, and that was happening across the board. So there was a lot of over speculation going on. And mirror that with a $500,000 to $750,000 cost associated with the contract for ESPN for the posts and live production for Drone Nationals.
And for people out there, that's a cost that's put onto you, right? That's not ESPN giving you $750,000 and be like, here, do something epic. They're like, we're going to broadcast it, but the cost of your event is going to be this because of the level, and then you have to come up with the sponsor cash to make it happen, right?
Exactly. So now it's end of May, going into June, and to be honest, Charles and I were looking at this, and it just wasn't. We didn't think that this was going to be possible, but we were going to work through it. We kept working through it, but then there were some other things that happened between relationships, things that were happening between different people. Because with the stress, that financial stress brings out either true intentions that you start to see between people, you start to see the true personalities of certain people. And we knew that this was not the organization that we wanted to be a part of. And luckily, we had not yet finalized and signed all the merge documents yet. So come the end of June, we decided that there's a really good chance that Drone Nationals is going to leave that event in the hole, and we don't know.
Leave a crater for the entire industry behind it.
Yeah, and we don't know if Drone Worlds is going to be is going to have any money, because we knew that they were money that was being raised and signed contract, like, hey, here's sponsors, I'm signing this, saying that my money is going to Drone Worlds, is being paid to support Drone Nationals instead, in violation of certain contracts. We saw what was going on, and we're like, hey, we're out of this.
Right.
So, which hurt, because we raised a lot of money towards Drone Nationals and Drone Worlds. Yeah. But we already signed those contracts and said that we are raising this money for those events. We can't just say, hey, it's in our bank account.
Right.
So we let it go to those events, because you signed those contracts. So all that work throughout the summer, went to that, and all our other plans went on hold. And so the next thing is like, okay, well, we never saw IDRA for the next 6 months. Like, where did you go?
No, you guys, from my map, you guys disappeared. And towards the beginning of the year, I've noticed IDRA was kind of a rising phoenix. The DSA was more or less officially dead, and it kind of gave you kind of more of an open room to come back without them around.
It was, but we didn't have the financing yet.
Right.
So as soon as we parted, Drone Nationals had not happened yet. So DSA was still a player, Multi-GP is a player, DR1 is now a new player. You had DRL making big moves. So we made the call to go international and to start building our Challengers Cup and start building the connections that would allow us to build our Challengers Cup,
right? Which
is a semi-pro series, and which I admit is stronger internationally than it is in the United States. But
yeah, that was one of the bigger questions. IDRA does focus more on the international side of the sport. What kind of races or events are coming to the stateside that the IDRA might be putting on?
Yeah, so like I said, we focused on international because we needed to go to a place, go to where your competitors aren't focusing, so that we could survive, so that we could stretch our budget over a large area and just keep doing what we're doing, right? And that worked. And then we lost a competitor with DSA, and then now we're coming back to the U.S. to fill, hopefully regain the trust that was lost. And so that's why we're planning. We got the 3-year contract at Dover International Speedway in conjunction with their NASCAR race. That could either be their spring weekend race or their fall race. So this year it's their spring race. We haven't determined it for 2018 or 2019.
But it's cool. I mean, I feel like bringing it to Dover International and a NASCAR event, that's a big deal, because that brings the drone racing to where the people are, which is at the NASCAR event. A lot of people are just hanging out, tailgating. They're at the event to hang out more so than just to watch the cars go around a track.
Yeah, so they have us we have one of the largest, in their fan zone, which is outside the speedway, we have one of the largest, we actually have the second largest area to Monster Energy.
Oh wow!
And which is the largest sponsor for NASCAR, the title sponsor for the Cup Series.
That's cool.
That area is non-ticketed. Anyone can go there, and if you've ever been to any type of event like that, you know that the amount of people that the stadium, the Speedway actually holds, double the amount of people actually show up to the event, just because they're there for the experience. They're there to bring their RVs. They camp out. They enjoy just the culture, to be there with friends, whatever.
Right.
And they all love motorsports.
Right. And
I've had a couple of interviews. They're like, well, what do they care about drone racing? Well, I grew up around drag racing. My dad is still an assistant crew chief in NHRA in top of drag racing. If I, who grew up around drag racing, saw an interest and loved drone racing or mini quad or quadcopters, then there's a connection. And just from being around races for the past couple of years, the same interest about tinkering with your quad or your aircraft is the same thing with guys and girls continuing to fix up and improve their car. It's the same thing. We're all tinkerers. We love to race. We love to push what we're racing to the limits.
Right.
It's the same.
No, I mean that's a good point, because there should be a decent amount of overlap between those two crowds. I mean, obviously not everyone's going to be totally into it, but as far as like trying to find a crowd that could be interested in it and would take to it, that would definitely be something I think would work. I mean, because like right now we have like the Maker Faire events, which have drone racing at them. Those are like just Tinker and the Maker types. And realistically, we haven't had a secondary big kind of draw of where you have people that are just there interested in something else, but would also be interested in drone racing. So it's actually really cool to see that branch out into traditional automotive sports and kind of see a crossover between the two, because yeah, that's definitely where I see it going. And yeah, as far as the sound goes, Santiago, goddamn, your typing is loud, man. Like all I hear is like a tap, 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 tap. So to the listeners out there, if you hear that's all the tapping going on. But thank you, Santiago.
I'm trying to answer in the Twitch chat.
No, I totally get it. Love you, bro. It's all good. Yeah, and just shout out to Colby, who's in the chat room right now. Good to see you out here, Colby. Yeah, so it's cool. We got Colby. I know we have a couple other big names floating around in here right now with Shane and whatnot. So yeah, this is cool. Yeah,
other races that we are trying to like bring back attention to the United States. We haven't announced it yet, but the finals for the Challengers Cup will be in the United States. I did have a venue. But then, of course, if anyone knows anything about event planning, you know, the events half the time, you know, fall through. So, you know, we're working with a plan B, but it will probably be somewhere down in the southern states, just because of I'm looking at towards either the end of November or beginning of December for the Challengers Cup.
Cool.
For races that are not the finals for the Challengers Cup, I know there's one in October in SoCal. We should be announcing one in Maryland here shortly. We haven't announced it yet, but there's another one in Kentucky that we'll be announcing soon.
Is that also potentially at a speedway? I know Kentucky's kind of famous for it, so
potentially. Yeah. I'm just not allowed to announce it yet, but
we can infer. I mean, it's pretty easy to infer when you say Kentucky plus drone racing and what you're currently doing with everything. But you know, I could be wrong. It could be a giant open field with a couple scarecrows in the middle of it. So,
yeah,
but yeah, no, it's true. And this is kind of the thing, is like these events are really complicated and hard to put on, and getting all the pieces together is
Yeah, it's tough for us on a planning perspective because when we're trying to do, like, for example, like even for like a semi-pro level, when you're trying to have races, and we're not picking, where we're contacting different organizers that we know, or they're contacting us. We're not going to have an infinite amount of races, and we're not going to, have, like, say, well, we're only going to have 12. Maybe in the future we will, who knows? But because I know how American pilots can be sometimes, and if we have one race in the U.S., everyone will go, oh, what is IDRA doing? You only have one race. And then you look across and like, well, every other country you're lucky that we even had a race in that country.
Right.
So it's tough when we're trying to cover the entire globe. And that's where I just wish people would, take a step back and understand what we're trying to do in terms of building a foundation for the international community. Because MultiGP's got that covered. They're doing a hell of a job with what they're doing on a national level. And that's not something that I've ever been interested in doing.
Well,
like I said, from day one, since 2015, since I started this, my original was like, I wanted a series that, it could be a regional, like I said, like the North America Cup. But I never wanted to be fixed on a country, because there's so much talent, and I want to be able to either have talented pilots that can travel, or teams that can do the same as well. And Dover, it looks like we're going to have a good amount of international pilots, so this is going to be exciting.
Right on. Yeah, that was also the other thing. That IDRA hosts more open races versus invite only, from what I've noticed, and that's kind of a difference between what DRL and DR1's been doing, as doing more of invite only / basically reality TV show to get on the show.
Because it's cheating. Like they're out. Okay, yes, I'm doing this as a business. I hope that this succeeds so that when I get out of the Army that this is my job, right? However, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm trying to build a sport.
Right.
And you can't do it with not being fair.
Right.
And, if you're going to go around and pick your own pilots based off of popularity, or they're following on social media just because it's going to be more marketing for you, then you're doing a disservice to the rest of the community.
Right. That's actually kind of like my biggest problem with DR1 and DRL, is that, while they are great, and this is not me having like a real problem with it, while they're great, I don't think they're really representative of the sport. And that's why I really like IDRA and what you're trying to do with it. You're trying to represent what the sport is and trying to show it off in more of a real light than trying to force it to be a reality TV show / manufactured experience.
Because I do want the sport to manifest itself at our races. Like here's what, or the community to say, like, this is what we have given you for this race. Like, not us picking what we want at this race. If right now we have 16 teams for Dover, if something happens and 4 teams back out and we can't fill them, then there's nothing I can do. I'm not going to go out and throw some teams together and say, get in there, because I need to fill 16 spots. That means, hey, for the next year, we need a game plan and figure out how to better support, obviously, time, because this was super last minute. This race was supposed to have been announced back in December. It was not going to be Dover. We were about to sign a contract with the Detroit Grand Prix, an IndyCar race in Belle Isle in Detroit. We were going to have the race on the inside of the track. for that race, which would have been awesome because IDRA is registered in southeastern Michigan. We were really hoping. We had a lot of support from the city. Detroit Grand Prix was all about it. We were about to sign. They're like, "Hey, let's get approval from our title sponsors, which is GM and Chevy."
Oh.
And they came back. They were like, "No, we don't want drones flying around at our event." Like, "Hey, we're gonna fully enclose and net the entire thing." And they're like, "No, we don't care." I'm like, "Okay, well." And so the mayor's office was like, "What do you need?" Like, even my local congresswoman was like, "Do you need me to contact GM?" And I was like, "Unfortunately, you know what? It's their loss. I'm gonna go talk to someone else."
Yeah.
So that's why it's so late. I wish I could have announced it sooner.
Well, the thing is, like, a lot of people have to give you credit for doing what you're doing right now and trying to build it back up from what I saw as kind of the ashes over the winter. I mean, I talked about with a lot of people kind of how the industry kind of popped with the DSA and it created a lot of infighting in the community, which fucking killed me inside. First F-bomb of the show. One more to go. So yeah, it was really kind of devastating for me personally. And I know I was kind of depressed. I was sold on this idea that drone racing, at least in the idea and the form that Scott kind of sold it as, was going to become the standard of the sport. At least was going to be supported. And kind of seeing that go to the wayside was depressing. And then seeing IDRA come back up with some great ideas, some really good kind of like formats to the race. Like, I like the idea that you're going to a team format with multiple flights per race. So you're not just doing a single battery and you're done. That, I think, is going to make for a much better spectator experience. Adding that team element, especially at a NASCAR race where they're much more team-based sport, even though you have a single driver. I think that kind of fits really well. And, you know, I think that really allows the sport to kind of grow into something a bit new and find kind of a new venue to move forward. So I think personally one of the biggest problems with drone racing is the fact that we fly for a single battery and then you have to reset everything. And the resetting of a drone race is one of the killers of time. And I know Justin will probably say this. I know every drone racer will say this, but going to a drone race, most of the time is spent just waiting.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to have a kind of a back-to-back battery burn and be able to fly for more than a single battery. I think that's going to add a lot more depth to the race and possibly much more kind of, especially if you have cameras on the crew and the people there, like the amount of interaction that you can get between the pilots and their crew and the machines, the interaction between the machines, like as of their landing, swapping the batteries, getting back up in the air, the communication between the pilots, like that's a really, really cool thing that's been kind of missing, I think, from a lot of drone racing. And
yeah, I did want to keep it still to elimination rounds just because of, I don't know where that started in drone racing. I know I didn't start it, but I just picked it up because it felt natural to me just because of growing up around drag racing. But my original plan was to have, one pilot with a crew, a navigator and a pit crew. And then I know, Matt Air and Colby and a couple other pilots contacted me and they're like, "Hey man, I like it, but because the whole idea was like we're going to spotlight these pilots, and it would be really easy with the media aspect, but it's going to be really hard to get those other people and the sponsors to pay for them to come out there if they're not flying." And so talked about it for a little bit. I didn't want to do the relay racing just because I just don't think that from a spectator standpoint and even from the media standpoint, I don't think it's there yet.
yeah,
I'm not willing to take that leap and try to do it. So that's why I was like, okay, well, we'll do the the 4 pilots per team will make all 4 qualifying rounds each pilot, and it's an average between their performance. And through the course, you do the 3 laps, pit stop, change battery, do another 3 laps, just like we did in Dubai. And then with eliminations, there's 4 iterations for each round. So it's not like one pilot crashes and then you blew it, you're out. You paid all that money to get there and you're done.
Right.
All 4 pilots have to go during the round. So all 4 iterations, and you're earning points. So like you finish first, you get 3 points. Finish second, 2 points, and so on. And the top 2 teams out of that heat advance. And it's still the 4 team heat. While one pilot's going, the other crew you have one as a navigator and the other 2 as a pit crew. So are you going to be flying every time? No. And I haven't sent the schedule out. We just finalized the schedule. But when I send the schedule out to the teams, there's not a lot of break time. It's going to be going. It's going to be hustling. And with every person on that team having a role to play, to be a successful team, to be the best team, there shouldn't be complaining about, oh, well, I didn't fly a lot. There's going to be a lot of flying. If you make it to the final round, you're flying a lot.
Right.
So just because of all those different iterations, and you're going to feel like it because you're going up there every single time with your team. Even if you're not the one in the pilot seat, you're over there in the pit lane. You're there at the navigator. You're running around trying to get your quads ready. If you crash, you're trying to fix stuff. So you're going to be swamped. You're going to be exhausted if you make it to the final round.
Right.
So I hope they like it.
Well, like one of the other things I wanted to mention about that format that inherently lends itself to the format is that because you're focusing on the pit stop, you're focusing on getting around all the laps. You're not focusing on having the fastest time. You're not focusing on, that little element. Because I feel like the first year of drone racing, a lot of pilots, like, you won if you got the fastest lap on a lot of races. Like, that was the thing. And that's not a race for qualifying. Yeah. Right. And, with the having, which means, pilots would just like kill it and go for the fastest possible lap. But that doesn't really prepare you for a traditional race of having to go more than a single lap, pacing yourself, getting in the line, and then not crashing. And with the team race, especially because like I can imagine, I don't know exactly how they're going to handle it with this race. And this is actually a question I have, but let's say if I crash on my second lap before my pit stop, am I out completely then? Or is there a way for that drone to be recovered and then brought back into the race?
The only way you can recover is if you can recover it yourself without obviously, because for like safety reasons, we're not going to have someone run out there.
So then that basically means don't crash.
Yeah.
Which is good because that was one of the biggest problems with the first year of racing.
The only reason we'll stop it is, let's say there's a lipo fire and it's right next to an obstacle and there's or the net or anything, and there's a risk that it's going to catch the course on fire. Then we'll have to stop it. But that's the only way we'll stop it.
Yeah, and that's cool because that was, I think, one of the biggest problems with kind of the first year of drone racing was the crash rate. First, it'd be like 2 out of 5 quads getting around at the end of it.
Which is why, like, if you extend the amount of laps, because when you would have like only like a 3-lap race and it's a really short, like just like you're on a football field and there's maybe like 3 turns and then it's over. Not a lot of obstacles because back then it was just a couple flags out there and some air gates. Right. And everyone would just floor it right at the beginning. And the first gate, just smacking it. And everyone would be like, can we get a restart here? And it's like, well,
that happened at the DR1 event like 3 times in a row for their first actual race. Like it was Tommy into a gate, then someone else into a gate, and then finally the 3rd time was the charm. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. Everyone's like really gung-ho out of it, and it ends really quickly. And I think your format at least should alleviate some of that problem and kind of bring back to what I think is more of racing, which is going around the track and not crashing. Like the crash rate for these machines should be like 1 out of 5, not 3 out of 5. Because a single crash per race is good, and it's easy enough to reset when a single drone goes down. If you have 5 drones on a track go down, you have to recover them. It adds more time. And then there's more recovery time. Like the pilots have to refix their aircraft. They have to change props. It adds a bunch of just BS in between it. So having the longer format, I think, is going to be nicer for the pilots and be much nicer for the spectators. And that's something I am really excited about. So yeah, Justin, kind of anything else in particular that we haven't covered that you might want to talk about?
I think I've kind of stolen the show a little bit. I think it's time to start talking
maybe
about
the fact that you're in the army.
What?
Maybe the fact that you're in the army, how does that work with the IDRA timing?
So the biggest thing is just trying to find time to do both, right? Like late nights, getting off work, and then just coming back home and checking emails, which has now gotten harder now that since IDRA started, now that I have a baby, so now I want to like spend time with them. So it's just always constantly throwing something in that trying to take time away, but that's life, right? So just try to manage it. But then like traveling, I can't go everywhere. And that's some of the reason, like since IDRA started, there'd be races where I'm not there and there'd be other people there. And there was some moments there, it's like, well, who's actually running IDRA? And I was kind of in the background. And also because I was afraid, I was like, well, what is the Army going to do if they knew that I was running this thing? I wasn't sure. So,
what, are you serious? You don't think the Army would be okay with you running a drone racing league on the side?
Well, so my bosses know, obviously now. A year and a half ago, they didn't. And I was kind of trying to keep it a secret as long as possible.
I mean, it wasn't like you started a fight club in a garage or anything. I mean,
so you can own your own business, right? It's like you can own a house and rent it out, and you're making money off of it. You can own your own business, and you just can't do it on Army's time. And however, there are commanders out there that take it way to the next. Like I have a good friend of mine that he has like a couple mixtapes out, right? It's a hobby / he has made money. He has a record label, right? And he's gone to I know he's flown out to Dallas a couple of times to make a couple music videos, like small stuff. He's not like big or anything, but he's trying to be he's like, maybe this is something I want to do after the Army. Well, his commander found out about it, didn't like him, it had something against him, and then immediately turned him in, and he had a letter of reprimand, and he got fired and everything. So
geez. I guess I can understand your concern now.
It all depends on who's your boss, right? So,
wow, but that I would never have thought that would ever be a conflict, but yeah, it makes sense. That's cool though. I mean, that's wow. You're holding down 3 jobs. Then you're a father, drone racing, and now the Army. That's yeah. You've got a lot going on, Justin. You need a clone. You need a dedicated clone.
I really do.
So I guess this is going to roll in then to the next kind of topic that we have. This is kind of a topic of discussion that I brought the X-Class crew on, Reiner and Kevin and Justin for. Before we get into that, I kind of want to introduce Kevin and Reiner of X-Class They are a couple of my dear friends, and they are kind of here to represent about what they're doing and what kind of we're doing and talk about giant drone racing going forward. So, Reiner, Kevin, introduce yourselves.
Awesome. Right on. Zoe, thank you for having us here. My name is Reiner von Weber. X-Class, that's just our big thing now that we're really focusing on. Got involved with drones 2011 and kind of just knew from the beginning when I got that first drone in my hand that it was the future. Never really saw drone sports being a part of it until really playing with Game of Drones and doing drone combat, and then seeing how drone racing changed and how it just took the world by storm and how it's evolved. There was a time in the past, like seeing how the technology was changing every 6 months, and now it's happening daily and weekly in people's backyards and garages, making these incredible devices. And X-Class is now where I'm really focused on. Just I really like the whole idea of 1,000 millimeters and making them work. And primarily, it's not been an easy task, and for that, that's why I really like it.
Right on. Thank you, Edie, for adding the microphone to their screen. It's much easier to hear them now. So, like, a lot of people might know Kevin, because I've been blasting Kevin on social media as the original X-Class pilot and the most badass of the group. He's got the most flight time on these machines out of any of us. But a lot of people might not know who Reiner is. Reiner is kind of like the guy behind the scenes that's made it all happen. And Team Von Drone, his baby, and something I've been a part of for a little while now, it's kind of been around for a long time.
Behind the scenes for long, because he's finally got a rig that really moves.
Yeah, it's holding up. But to go back into what Team Von Drone is and how it gets started, 2013 Maker Faire Game of Drones, we decided that we wanted to fight. And I got teamed together with Kevin and Edie, Eddie.com Codell. And at the time, I was really focused on how can I make a drone that would do combat that was easy to fix. And I came up with what I call the California Legal. It's wood, it's PVC, it's easy to fix, it's a lot of fun. So that's how Kevin got his nickname too, is Slashed, because he where people got injured in the pits versus in the arena.
Yeah, my first year at Maker Faire, I think it was my second drone build ever.
Yeah.
And I was building one of those, and just idiot newbie pilot in the pits, and went to I think I was going to calibrate my ESCs, and
with the props on.
With the props on, because I was new, and took out my thumb. We're like racing across the campus or whatever it was that had Maker Faire at, and I'm like holding my thumb in the air, and blood's dripping everywhere.
Make way! Yeah.
That's awesome.
Good times.
Yeah.
So, Reiner, then you did the California Legal, which is the combat drone. You did something kind of epic, and I think it's kind of the most advantageous X-Class rig right now, because the power to weight ratio on your machine is insane. Do you have one to show with you?
I do. And if I could finish the story real quick.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Because it's important for me to there was a time that Team Von Drone wasn't doing anything until Drone Nationals said, hey, Drone Worlds, we're going to do a 1,000 millimeter 50 laps. And I was like, okay, well, I'm in. Called it my friends back up, and we really focused on it. And we started building, we started training. And then all of a sudden that was taken off the website. And at that time, we had thousands of dollars put into getting things going, where we're just like, you know what? If anything, let's just go to Hawaii and enjoy ourselves.
So then Justin, Haggerty, and you have something in common. You both been screwed by Scott.
Yeah, fortunately. But, it was enough fire where we're like, I think it's fair that we bring it out to Worlds and at least show it off and see if people are interested in it, because if they're not, then cool, then we know. We had a great response. And once we came back, you had your 850, and to have you and Kevin race, that was a phenomenal moment where Kelvin Long was out there with his cell phone filming the whole thing, and then we were able to watch that whole thing off the phone. It was a pinnacle moment where we're like, this is kind of fun. The sound's different, and it scares the tar out of me because now we're into this 6-cell madness with carbon fiber props that you ain't going to get a scratch. You're going to get stitches. And so there's a seriousness that we take along with this as well, where we are really pushing the whole team aspect on it, because pilot is one part, but a VO, having a visual observer, is just as important, making sure that we're not crashing into each other. Other elements of getting just people involved, like having our tech person out there, our battery management, somebody who can be the kill switch operator. These are roles that we want to have people involved, but it's only a handful of us really doing it. But more and more that we're out there, people are telling me about these builds, and they're like these mystery builds. Andrew Dysonian, who came out with his, what a beautiful craft, all handmade. Really impressed. So now I'm like to the point where, what else are people going to bring to us? Segue into California Special. I had a Y6 that I bought online, and it was a cinematography rig. It did not want to race. It just wanted to fly.
It was slow. I tried racing it once.
And I joke about that because I said, hey, Zoe came in 4th out of 4.
I went as fast as I could.
I know. Here's this great shot too when you finish. It looks like you come in 3rd. You're like, oh no, she has another lap to go. It's just not built for racing.
Yeah.
So I took the idea of the California legal and I bumped it up to 3/4 inch wood and PVC, and just doing what I have in my box. And I came up with the California Special.
That thing is awesome. So it's basically 2 pieces of wood or 3 pieces of wood and a piece of PVC in the middle.
Yeah. So you can see this is my battery strap. Got the camera. Everything's minimal. And it was so great that you were there with me when we got this thing flying, because I started building it. I was excited to get the motors moving on it. Went over to Kevin, helped me PID this a little bit, get it tuned. It was that night before we had our exhibition at Flight Fest West. And we got it hovering, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do a punch out. Whee! Oh my God, we have something. This thing is on quarantine. I'm not touching it until we're on the flight line. And
yeah, it was like tuned out really well the first flight. It was kind of amazing.
Of course, yeah. I didn't. I was scared to crash it. I wanted to be a part of that race, and behold, it was a contender.
You were winning until you realized you were winning, and then you freaked out and crashed.
I choked, absolutely, because at the same time I didn't know the build. I know it was all pilot error because I just didn't know how it was tuned. I didn't realize I can do flips with it the way it's tuned. So yeah, I did crash out, but a victory is a victory of just being able to complete 2 full laps on its first flight. That's all I really cared about at that point.
Well, it's also like a $300 bill. So it's super cheap.
Yeah, that is something else. Like, California Legal was all about was I went to Home Depot one day and I spent probably like $80 on different materials, and I kept on going back to that PVC stuff. And I'm like, I don't like that answer. It's too simple. Everything else broke. I would fly this into the wall, into the goalposts. It would just bounce off of it, and it would go back in the air. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to fight this. This is the answer. It's work. It works. It's simple. It's cheap. It's effective.
Yeah. And it's really lightweight. Like it's out of all of the frames right now, it is the lightest frame. And that means it has a higher power to weight ratio than all the other rigs out there right now. So I can't wait to put some Zoe motors on that big old beast and see what we can get that thing going up to, because that's basically like a giant warp quad at that point. And yeah, so that's going to be cool. Yeah, Justin's like, ooh, that's a fun idea. So I guess on that, we have X-Class. We have an event coming up on the 27th of this month. And that's kind of us pushing the second race of the season for X Class and kind of pushing drone racing forward, at least for the giant stuff. And
Absolutely.
the main topic of the show right now, kind of now that I have you and Justin on here, is the future of drone racing, and not just the large scale, but the mini scale stuff, where you see it going from where it is right now, and what you want to see come out of it. Like, what do you envision as the next step, and what do you see as being like the next biggest obstacle to get to that next step? Some very deep questions. I'll give you all a second to think about that. Okay, go.
One of the best things that we have going for us on the mini side, and this is, you can compare this to any other form of racing around the world. Even cycling, because those bikes are like $40,000.
Yeah.
So if I'm a fan, if I just saw Formula One for the first time, I can't, as an average person, go out and buy that. I just saw NASCAR for the first time, I can't go out and buy that.
Right.
If I just saw the Kentucky Derby for the first time, I cannot buy one of those horses, even if I sold everything I own.
Right.
So, but I can start purchasing online all the different products that I need to assemble, or even get your own kit that's already self-assembled, fly out of the box. That way you can start learning how to fly either via line of sight or FPV, just starting to get in the feel, and then literally a crash course. Every time you crash, you start fixing it and you learn what's going on. But that's possible. That is feasible. The financial barrier is way lower for us than any other form of racing. So what does that mean? That means that our community, if we build this thing
much larger,
very big.
Yeah.
And if we do that right, that means sponsors can be very happy because they can make a lot of money. And if we do that, then that money should turn around and support pilots and teams to do this professionally. So the model, the variables are there to make this happen. So that we know eventually this is going to keep growing if we do it right. And the mini side can be pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
The X-Class side, we know that that's just, hey, we're racers. We're human beings. We always want to build things bigger, faster, stronger, you name it. So we're going to do it. And it's already happening, obviously.
And we're doing it.
Yeah, we're already doing it. So, and we're probably going to build them bigger than that. So,
well, that's like one of the things, though. I feel like it takes both mini quad racing and giant drone racing to move the industry forward. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Like the giant drone racing, I think could help get the excitement of the general public that might see like the mini quad stuff as being more toy-like. And I can see the more mini quad stuff being accessible, which leads the community growing and kind of feeding into everything else. And coexisting peacefully. That's the other thing I see is like you have to, it's kind of like one feeds off the other. And with both of them, they both kind of grow together.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's no different than showing up to an NHRA race and you have a top fuel dragster and that is completely different chassis and it looks completely different than anything else out there. And it's going 330 miles an hour in a quarter mile. And then you have, a pro stock bike or, a pro stock or just a regular stock car.
Right.
And that's only going like 250 in a quarter mile. So, I mean, and you have a long list of different classes. So it's going to get there eventually, right? But, and I definitely X-Class or other different sizes, there's room for them. We just got to figure out, well, where can we do it?
Right.
I was having a conversation on FPV podcast a little while ago, And I was like, oh, well, we could do these in speedways. I don't know, because the conversations that I've had with the FAA and conversations with the insurance companies, that they would never touch it, because they're like, okay, well, a stock car going 205 miles an hour colliding with 3 other stock cars, they go airborne and they can go over the fence. Yes. However, these are always airborne. So, okay, point taken. And then, so if we can't do it there, are we going to be like Red Bull Air Racing and do it in city bays where you have giant air gates that are out there in the bay, and you have a course that is built, which is cool. I think it would be way more exciting than Red Bull Air Racing, because Red Bull Air Racing is a little boring to me, since only one aircraft at a time, because they don't want pilots to be colliding and dying. With us, we don't have to worry about that. So that aspect would be way more exciting. You would actually have multiple aircraft racing each other, rather than just racing, a phantom time.
Right.
Trying to. So I think in that aspect, X Class has way more potential to become a larger sport than Red Bull Air Racing. But every time I've been to a Red Bull Air race or seen it on TV, I always hate being so far away. On the shore, and I wanted to get closer, which is why I'm kind of trying to figure out, well, where can we find a better place to hold these races? And that's where my hang up is at the moment.
No, and I think that's an extremely valid hang up. I know it's one that I've voiced concern over. Is the biggest challenge right now, I think, to X Class is finding suitable venues that fit, these giant drones. I mean, I know Reiner, I know Kevin can speak to all the scouting they've done and all the stuff. Like,
AMA has been wonderful to work with, finding these new fields. There have been diamonds in the rough. So we're right now where we're going to have our next race. They lost their field for 5 years, and they just got this field in November, and they've been working diligently making their field work. And they've been open arms to like, yeah, please, by all means, use our field. And as we know, as being drone pilots, we all have to have our AMA license. So it's being able to utilize that car that we spend the money for, just besides going for those races.
I don't know. I think Justin might say you might have to have your IDRA insurance.
Yeah, if it's not yeah, for sure. Because there's more places we want to go, but for right now, it's probably the easiest transformation that we can do, because insurance is tough.
It is, yeah. And even for an event, it's getting more tough. And there's another. What we've had to do for Dover is insane. Just with having anywhere between 150 to 200,000 people be walking through the fan zone next to our racetrack through the weekend. In order for us to have it there, we needed to completely net the entire thing. Originally, I wanted it to be a football. I usually design our tracks to be within like a football field size area.
Right.
But you're looking at like $100,000 to net and the structure to hold that up.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, well, we're gonna do 150 by 150, and we're just gonna make the track more like a short track, like almost like a Bristol for NASCAR. It's gonna be tighter. It's gonna be a little bit, hey, show your skills as a pilot. But that's because of budget. We cannot afford that. And I can tell you right now, no one else can, because there's a reason why.
Do you think that there is a way to convince insurance companies that the net, at least for some venues, might not be necessary?
Well, so
I think it also depends on how the track is set up. you know, because you can design a track in a way that, you know, the drones aren't going to come, you know, right at the crowd. If you design it in such a way that, you know, you're, I don't know how to explain it, but
Well, so this is not just precautions that we have to take because of us just being near people, right? We have always had, okay, well, we're going to designate this area, this straightaway. We'd have spectators on a straightaway,
right,
not in a turn. We're going to say like this straightaway is spectator area, and we're going to net this side, and everything else is just like you're not allowed over there, and we just always kept the cost down, but we're safe, and that was in our, you know, safety manual and whatever permits we put in or waivers we did with FAA or whatever. But for this, look at the variables that we have. We have the office, the FAA office of Philadelphia coming down that will be at the race and inspecting, being there, looking at everyone's registrations, any, you know, licenses for pilots and piloting commands, and then also making sure that they want to see it's netted because we're right next to a speedway during a major national event, because of that whole idea of not drones in relations to national events and stadiums and crap. And then, but we're not in it, outside of it, but it's a very gray area. And then NASCAR has a no drone policy.
Oh, wow.
But we're not in the speedway. We're outside.
Right.
Gray area, though. So these are all precautions with Dover, their lawyers, their insurance, our lawyers, kind of debating it. And we're just, but also, quite frankly, even the FAA told us, hey, it's netted. You just made a structure. We don't have jurisdiction inside of there.
right.
Yeah.
Which was like, I figured that, but I wasn't going to tell them that.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I know what ASL does. Is they do indoor events just specifically so they don't have to deal with the FAA. You know, that's one less regulatory body to deal with.
Yeah. But this is such a bit high profile thing that the FAA is coming anyway.
Right.
But we have to make, I mean, it's a lot more work, it's a lot more money, but we have to do it right because we earn their trust, they have our back for as long as we need it, right? And if we're going to build a professional sport, you know, we need their support. We can't get on the wrong side, you know, with them. And I mean, obviously it could be way cheaper and, you know, way easier for us to just find abandoned warehouses like DRL and just hold our events there. But because then we don't have to deal with FAA, and we also don't have to worry about attracting spectators because our main goal is to produce a TV show. But that's our main goal is, yes, we have the media. We're putting a lot of money into our media this year for our production, for our Amazon Prime instant video. But the in-person experience, the kids that are going to be there with their dad going to the NASCAR race, and they walk away and they didn't give a crap about the NASCAR race. They walked away going, Dad, what was that we saw, that drone racing? And they're hooked.
No, yeah.
That's why.
Dad, I want one.
Right.
So,
and that's, you know, why I love the IDRA.
X-Class is kind of taking it to the next size level up from that. You know, once you've seen these things in the air, you know, semi close to you, you know, kind of like what you were saying about the Red Bull air races, you know, you can never get close enough.
Yeah.
And, you know, providing we can get a venue that works for us, you know, just getting close enough to hear and feel these big rigs flying by you is just such an incredible experience.
Yeah.
And you know, it's definitely a crowd pleaser. You know, I just actually on Zoe's suggestion entered into the freestyle competition at Flight Fest West, and you know, of course I was busy, but everybody was saying that, you know, they stopped watching the FPV feed and were watching me line of sight because it was way more interesting to watch it that way. And, you know, that was like the biggest compliment I could get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing.
That's
We're
cool.
still at like the really young intersection of giant drone racing. We're still very young with like just drone racing in general. I mean, this sport is all of 2 years old, and every sport that has been around for only 2 years has had tons of growing pains. I mean, MMA had their growing pains in their first couple years, and every other big sport recently has had the same kind of issues. So to expect that everything would be awesome at this point in time and it'd be like this awesome big thing, everything's working, you know, and billions of dollars are being poured into it. Yeah, we're not quite there yet, but we can, you know, potentially grow it to something that will get to that point. So with that in mind, I'm kind of curious, like what's IDRA's like next big goal? Where do you see taking it next?
Well, so our goal is just to get more, I guess, regimented. So I think we found our home in terms of the format or the design of our series. So we will always have the Challengers Cup. And the Challengers Cup is to discover the future challengers to the Pro Series or the drone racing series. That the top couple pilots out of there is really you're building your resume to help you find bigger sponsors for yourself to help put together a team or join a team and race professionally, right? Because these are the semi-pro guys. However, there's a couple, you know, pilots that are doing pretty well in the Challengers Cup that are also going to be at Dover. So it's like I said, this is the first year we're doing it, so it's gonna take a little time for it to work itself out. And then for the drone racing series, that's the reason why we picked the team racing is because of we wanted to design it in ways that it was different. There was things that set it apart as a pro than a semi-pro. Like semi-pro, just like we've always done, just single pilot racing. You got 32 pilots at a race, and that's it.
Right.
And for the drone racing series races, 16 teams as actual, like, it's how you perform as a team. And then also you got, because then you got the pit stop, you got the rotation of pilots. It's how you perform, you know, how you qualify together, how you perform in those each elimination rounds. So it's much different than just, hey, it's just you. And in terms of races, obviously it's financial, right? So I mean, if we could come out and do 12 races, pro races around the world this year, yeah, of course we would. But we got to start somewhere. And we should be announcing the next couple races soon for the drone racing series. We just had to finalize a couple of dates. I know we just finalized China's. We're about to finalize Korea's. So it's just like we worked. You always jump in hoops. We're always jumping through hoops and trying to work things out. But this is kind of the identity that we want going forward, is to have that semi-pro series and that pro series. And outside of that, maybe we'll support other series that are out there and consider growing in other directions. But for now, that's kind of us.
I mean, that's a large chunk of stuff to do as it is. I mean, you're biting off quite a big bite there. And on that note, I kind of want to say to sponsors, if there are any out there listening, please get into the sport. Like, it's about time to start sponsoring this stuff. I mean, we had the hiccups that we did last year. People are figuring this shit out. It is going to get better. People are learning from this mistakes. Stuff is happening. This is something that's investable still. I know a lot of people got kind of spooked due to all the issues we had at the end of last year and some of the issues just going forward last year. But I don't think that means, investors, the bigger ones, should be scared of that. I think one of the issues is that like DSA went to New York, where a lot of those investors are, and kind of scared people away a little bit. And I really hope, and I know, at least I know personally, at least one person within the ESPN group listens to me and watches my Instagram feed. And I can say that the industry is definitely self-correcting. We're going through this moment of self-correction, and people are figuring out what didn't work, what did work, and recoalescing around the things that will work. And at the end of the day, yeah, it does take money. Like Justin, IDRA, X Class, like to do the big events, it takes cash. And that's something that only real sponsors can provide. And at the same time, we still have to prove to the sponsors that it's something that it's worth their money. It's something that they'll get good promotion from. And that, I think, is still the last kind of battle that needs to be proven for both IDRA and X Class, and even DRL and DR1. It's especially when DR1 is advertising primarily to kids now. I mean, that's yeah, it's kind of an interesting market. So on that, one of the questions we had in chat, and this is something that I've actually had brought up in my mind a few times, and some friends. Tor Odinson says, I feel in a world of sensationalizing press and influenceable general public, possibly promoting multirotors as drones, like the thing the Army uses to spy and bomb in the news, might be a disservice to the wider acceptance. As in, like, drones have the traditional kind of connotation to them as being weapons of war. And in the back of people's minds, that is still an association that exists. And this might be something that may have prevented paintball from becoming a much larger sport, because inherently paintball was kind of recreating, kind of killing each other, but it wasn't quite that extreme. And drones, while not recreating the death and destruction of military stuff, still kind of carries with it that general public connotation of being something that's bad. So, like, how do we as an industry kind of go forward and move past that stigma that drones are evil and they are just not good?
I don't think that from the larger audience it's an issue anymore. I think definitely there's some people in the community that still think that there is, because I see the comments on social media all the time, like, stop calling them drones, call them multi-rotors or whatever. And I'm like, okay, got it. I got it. And I know I'm the start of it. Before IDRA, there was no one called any of this drone racing. When I started it 2 years ago, all of our social media was at drone racing, and I picked the identity or the branding International Drone Racing Association because I looked at Multi-GP, and I looked at Aerial Grand Prix, and I looked at Aerial Sports League, and I looked at some of the others that were out there. And I don't think that people, if I just stumbled upon this on Instagram, or if I just stumbled on Twitter or whatever, I would not know what this is. And if I'm going to appeal or market this or introduce this sport to a larger or new audience, I have to, brand it in their vocabulary.
Right.
So yes, it has, or it had. I don't think it's a negative term anymore.
I think largely it's part due to drone racing helping that become a non-negative thing.
Yeah, I think it definitely has. I think our sport killed it, because if we end up on the news, it's more the reporter or the people on the news, the anchors, going, wow, this is so cool, I love this stuff. There's nothing negative anymore. And I hope that we played a part in that. Mm-hmm. And that was my intent. I was like, hey, if the more you say something and change the meaning, the more people get used to it. It's just natural. So you just change the meaning in people's lexicon and their vocabulary. So I get the point, but I think the larger audience. I don't think there's a lot of issue anymore. But like in paintball is fun, but I can see a lot closer correlation between paintball and militant training and whatnot, right? Because you're actually, or airsoft or anything, because you're holding a product that closely resembles a weapon, right? Our aircraft look completely different than products that the military have. So, firsthand experience.
Right.
So
that's a good way to put it. I think that's really kind of covers that on that end. Justin, Reiner, do you have any ideas on like how we might be able to push it forward to make it more an acceptable term?
Put more disco balls on them.
Yeah, no, that definitely disarms people. Just turns it into a giant UFO.
No, I think, just keep on putting it out, calling it a drone. I think what's kind of happened is, back in the days, there was the car, which was horse and buggy, which was referred to as the automobile for so long. It took a long time before the automobile was considered a car. And multi-rotor, we just kind of bypassed the word multi-rotor. We just went to drone. And it does have a negative connotation because I think a lot of time from the media, that's the first time they hear about it. It has definitely changed. I even think from DJI with their consumer products like the Phantom, that people will go, "Oh, look, it's a drone." That's also played a big part of it changing, where they're realizing that I can pick this up at Best Buy. You go to Toys R Us, they have the Barbie one now, the little surfer girl on the Barbie.
New factor now, and people are always like, "Oh, I'm about to buy one," like, or I know a guy who owns one. It's like, yes. Oh yeah, like it's like some unique, weird thing that some people can acquire. Like it's
there's enthusiasm.
But they're everywhere. Like I don't know, something was wrong with my phone. And I went into Verizon. And there was like, I don't even know the brand because there's so many random toy brands now. Right. And there were a couple on the shelf. And I'm like, what does this have to do with Verizon? Like, they're everywhere. Like gas stations. Like,
you're right on that one. Yeah. And I think that's a good trend that's continuing. I know a couple of years ago, it wasn't quite like that. And to see that it has come around to where it is right now makes me kind of excited for the future. I know this Christmas you'll be able to get a full FPV setup for under $100, which should hopefully change the game for a lot of people getting into the hobby.
Right.
I know when I got into it, it was like
when I was flying my Mini around my little lot that I usually practice at. 2 years ago, I had this woman come up to me. "Oh, is that a drone? Are you spying on people? Are you watching me?" And it's like, no.
That is that.
And it's like now, go out there flying, and it's like, "Oh, cool, it's a drone. Oh, wow, check that out. Hey, you mind if if my kid takes a picture of it or something?" And it's like, yeah, it's totally.
But there are still a lot of people that freak out about that.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. Like it is crazy that the current regulation, like with the FAA, is like you can fly anywhere because it's national airspace. Like I can fly into someone else's yard and it's okay. But it's, to me, I feel like that's definitely going to change soon.
Well, I mean, there's still the privacy laws that, are theoretically supposed to take care of that.
Yeah, from like state by state basis. I know like California had a privacy law come up recently that was vetoed, and basically it was, if it actually went through, it would keep it so any pilot that may have like footage of someone else's backyard would be encroaching on their privacy and could be caught for like trespassing and all that bullshit.
Hey guys, over here at the Twitch chat, they're saying, if you notice, those in the military call them now UAVs. They're not using drone anymore because drone is now seen as a consumer product.
It's UAS.
Hashtag we won the war, guys.
The whole government calls them UAS. They don't even call them UAVs. And I'm pretty sure the government started the whole UAV thing, and then they switched it to UAS. And then also like the SUAS, which we use. The minis are SUAS, small unmanned aerial systems.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes it sound
I think
cool.
ultimately,
It's the government. They always have to have a long acronym for everything.
yeah. The big, deal about drones, oh my God, there's a drone strike and all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
One of the questions I had in chat was for Justin. With the DSA kind of imploding and whatnot, what has your ask when you go to a sponsor change? How you approach them, has that changed at all, or do you basically say I'm not associated with those anymore and I'm not responsible for what they did? How do you go about it?
So pretty much after the fallout, or after we terminated the merger, we sent emails to all of our contacts and explained what happened. And then obviously some of them wanted, to have more of a discussion and speak either on the phone or on Skype or whatever.
Right.
I will say that we have lost sponsors. I will say sponsors have completely left the industry, and who knows if they'll ever come back, which is sad. And that's why we're trying really hard to put together events that have a professional feel to them, or about the event, not just the media and the social media and stuff, but the people that are there, the spectator experience. Because there's so many times I've done interviews and the first question is do you think that this is a spectator sport? And it's well, I hope so. I really, I mean, hell, when 2 years ago, one of the reasons I had a pretty good feeling about drone racing, and I was like, hey, this is going to be a thing. Because I was getting into it, about 6 months before I started IDRA. I was contemplating hey, do I want to spend my time on building this thing? And I don't know which organization, because I don't know much about esports, but there was the first time that someone came in and packed Madison Square Garden. And I was watching it on ESPN, and you had all these tens of thousands of people just watching a couple guys play like World of Warcraft or something.
Right.
And me, either from playing sports, through high school and college, or growing up around racing with my dad, and I'm just watching and I'm thinking, hell, if they can do that in 5 to 10 years, we definitely can do this with drone racing. And if we can't, then the whole world is upside down. So that's that was what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to see if it sticks. I'm going to create it. And so now it's, 2 years and some change since. And hopefully this is this race. I'm more proud of Dover. It hasn't happened yet. Knock on wood, it's a success. Put a lot of work into it and a lot of money, but I'm more proud of this race than Dubai. Because Dubai was awesome, but I can never, ever measure that or relate that to anything we've ever done or maybe ever do again. Because there's so much money to it, and the rewards were minimal. They got our name out there worldwide, but nothing. They didn't really sell the content, so there was no revenue that came in that way. The marketing standpoint in terms of attracting people there was almost non-existent. There wasn't a lot of spectators. And so I look at that and I see almost $14 million being poured into that. And I look at what we're paying for Dover and being able to partner with a world-class event and being able to have nearly 200,000 people in person going to walk by our racetrack and watch what we do, see our technology, see our sport firsthand, and maybe even have a chance to work with Fox Sports and have a production that's broadcasted during NASCAR on that Sunday. So I see that, and I'm like, I'm way more proud of that than Dubai.
Right.
And so I'm excited. I just, knock on wood, I hope it all, goes well.
Well, I know there's probably going to be at least a couple hiccups. Every event has them. But that being said, I think you're more prepared for it now than ever. And you have kind of the vision for it. And everything that I've heard coming out of this event so far has been pretty damn good. Like the pre-event buzz happens, before nationals. There was definitely the pre-event buzz around the community, at least people I talked to, about it being a shit show. And lo and behold, it turned into that. Same thing with Worlds. There was pre-hand talk about it being potentially a problem, and it turned into a problem. That being said, with this event,
I have heard some talk about Dover, but only from like the usual sources that you hear. But other like large talks, I haven't heard anything. But maybe that's because
I think it's more of like past ripping, since like other events or whatnot. Someone may have had a bad experience at a past one and just kind of ribbing you now. But considering like your approach with Dover and how you're trying to bring it to fruition, I really think it's. I not just think, I really hope that it's going to, solidify IDRA moving forward and kind of help you, because like right now it's the proving ground. You prove that this race can go well and run smoothly and get media out of it, then the sponsors should coalesce around that.
Yeah, because it's a 3-year deal with them, and the year after that and the year after that will be, twice, 3 times, 4 times as large. Because the thing right now, I will say, we did have issues with fundraising. I'm not going to say oh, well, yeah, we fundraised. It was so easy. No, it's because there's so many other races out there, not just from our competitors that are trying to do series. That's fine, because that's, if you're going to do a series, that's great. But you have organizers that are coming out and doing one-off races, like the race in China that got shut down.
Right.
And it's like, what are you doing? Really? You didn't know that you needed permits to be near an airport?
Right.
Come on. And then our race in China later in the year for the drone racing series, we're working with the province, their governor's office or whatever, and you need a whole list of permits to be able to work on their property. And it's of course you need that, just like anywhere else. So you have that kind of stuff. And then what I said about the issues from last year, certain sponsors that are no longer interested, or you just have sponsors that are just sitting back and going,
waiting.
Hey, you got a 3-year deal. Awesome. Good luck this year. We'll watch and maybe we'll jump on next year. And it's well, all right.
That's the way I feel most of it is right now. There's a lot of people in the wait and see phase to see where it's going to go next, and trying to find out where they want to kind of put their money in sponsorship dollars and see if the industry can recover from the kind of stumble it had this winter. And I think it will recover. I think it's going to recover. I mean, I've seen signs of it so far that it's getting a little bit better, but it's still going to be a bit of an uphill thing.
Yeah, and I feel like and still to this day, I think it's still easier for us to fundraise than for teams and pilots. And that upsets me, because really, we can display products, we can insert them into our media, we can do campaigns on our social media, we can brand them at the events, but pilots endorsing products, endorsing brands, whatever, that goes so much further. Since all of us have been alive, do you think that the NBA endorsing a product has gone further, or Michael Jordan endorsing a product. Michael Jordan. So that's like, you need to support pilots more than us. Yes, we need the money to support our races and make sure they happen. But pilots and teams need it to be able to do this and to be able to, you know, go and travel and participate and compete and win, right?
Yeah.
And that's not happening.
That's a very big deal.
There's 2 teams that backed out of Dover because of their sponsors pulling out and like, yeah, we sponsor you, but we're not going to help you with travel. It's like, well, then why are you sponsoring me? Like,
I could speak to that a little bit. I mean, I know it's kind of sad because I know there's a lot of really amazing pilots out there that are having a really hard time getting their sponsors or a sponsorship game to really support them in the way they need to be able to go to these events and fly the way they need to fly. I mean, I know personally for me, I still struggle. You know, I'm one of the most well-known pilots in the community, and I still struggle. I know some of my friends in the Bay Area do too.
It's because the sponsors or the companies in our market have never done this before, right? Like if the Mountain Dews and the Pepsis of the world, they know what they're doing because they do it all the time. So if they were to sponsor someone, they have you covered. It's like, hey, this isn't our first rodeo. Right. You know, we're going to take care of you. You know, I'm not going to drop any names, but the companies in our market, in our community, they are learning just like we are. Mm-hmm. And so they don't really know how to go about it. And they also don't really know which events to really support.
Yeah.
And which ones do they really need to get behind?
Especially after the winter, because we had the splintering of the industry and a lot of other little events pop up. And there hasn't been like a major coalescing around any of these particular smaller events. So to get that sponsor support for pilots behind it, we really have to have like an event that has community support.
Yeah. And really, you have DR1 and DRL that are really focused on like the big game. I mean, we're still working on a couple title sponsors that are hopefully like, you know, they're outside of the market, but we're still working on them. But it doesn't mean that we're still very heavy on our market, because if we grew and we just left everyone behind, it's like, well, then what the hell are we doing? It's the exact same reason why we have open races.
Right. It's
because we want the actual community to be there. And it's really like us, LTGP, ASL, DCL, and then maybe some of the smaller national leagues that are still heavily focused on, you know, taking in the companies that are still in our market, because the ones that are only focused on media like DR1 and DRL, because their media contracts are like, okay, if you bring on T-Motor, no one's going to give a crap.
Right.
Like, okay, then we're not going to accept them then. And it's like, okay, I get it, but then you're just going to distance yourself from the community.
Right. That's a really hard balancing act.
Yeah.
I'm not envious of it. And that's actually kind of, I mean, as much shit as I've given Scott publicly now on the podcast, the one thing he did do was try to bring that vision to fruition and try to make it into semi-legitimate sport. And where he failed, I really hope IDRA can succeed. And I think, Justin, dude, like the fact that you're willing to come onto this show and talk about these problems openly and not give me a bullshit response is something that I honestly think the community can stand behind, because you're one of us, you know. You're not just like some random person with a complete like unknown agenda. You're making it known, you know. You're talking publicly about your issues that IDRA has had. You're talking about things going forward, and you're even talking about the current issues you're dealing with, which I think is a really cool thing. I mean, That's basically saying I'm out in the open. This is what's going on. Support us because come on, we're part of the community and we're doing this for the community. And I really hope people on the show have, really kind of lightened up to what's going on with the IDRA and kind of appreciate everything you said so far. I mean, it's been extremely illuminating for me. And I'm really glad to bring you on the show because I had all these questions for myself that I know other people out there would really, really love to get answered. So kind of wrapping up the last little bit of the show, kind of have a couple more questions for the X-Class crew / Justin. Where do you think...
Sorry, Zoe, over here in the chat, they're saying Justin is a badass.
Justin is a badass. He's holding down 3 jobs and he's making the drone racing industry happen. Like I said it before, it takes a village, it takes all of us kind of getting behind each other and supporting each other in this crazy venture that is bringing drone racing to reality. Because I keep bringing that point up specifically because I feel like during the first end of the year, we all kind of started infighting a little bit more. The community kind of splintered apart, and that is one of the strongest aspects I think we have is how supportive the community was and how interlaced and interconnected we are. And, we have to really try to stay positive with these events going forward. We really have to try to put the best foot forward. We know there's going to be problems. There's always going to be problems, but as long as we're putting them all out there and we put them on the table and we don't try to ignore them and we have an open conversation like we have, I think we can all move forward together. And again, I just want to say thank you, Justin, for everything that you said so far. This has been an extremely illuminating podcast. I know a lot of people, I had inclinations. I kind of know what's been going on behind the scenes for a lot of these organizations, but a lot of the listeners out there have zero clue about what really goes into the background of making a legit drone race happen. So, it's not just the community, it's not just media, it's not just the spectator experience. It's this weird fusion of making sure all those things are correct. So you have this basically sport, you have to coalesce it into that sport. And it's not an easy job, and we're only 2 years into it, and there's going to be a lot more hiccups and bumps along the road. But as long as I think we keep kind of a positive attitude / not an upper hand, but a kind of just looking forward versus looking back, and trying to keep the future happening, it'll happen. I think one of the problems was that the industry tried to grow too fast, too quickly the first year. And the industry had a lot of competition for that really kind of get the biggest pie of the market. And that pie kind of got eaten up by a lot of little competitors. And now no one wants to bake a new pie. Sponsors, please bake us a new pie. I don't think that makes any sense, but I think, you get the point. Because I know there's a lot of people that want to consume the pie. And I'm now going to end the pie metaphors. So
now I want pie.
Yeah.
Now I want pie.
Pie.
I won. Okay, so a couple last things. The mini quad racing is really coalescing. I'm excited to see what IDRA has done. X-Class crew, for them, they're really just all about that, getting it done and trying to bring the giant drone racing into fruition. What I've really noticed about both these organizations is that it's not me first, it's not a CEO first, it's more of a pilot first, a spectator first, a person first experience,
Right, exactly. I mean, that's kind of our way of going about it is, it's totally grassroots. We're not trying to take over the world all, at one time. It's like we're taking this very slow, taking our time, growing the sport, growing the class, I should say, organically. And we're just trying to get as many people interested as we can. And I think, at least the people that have seen us, we've definitely inspired quite a few to start building, and we just want to inspire even more.
Yeah, it's been a tough challenge getting people. Very thankful for Colby and Sharif that really stepped up to the plate too, because we were really just going at it, and we would turn around and be nobody else, but they stepped up, and because of them, also they're pushing innovation and reaching out to sponsors where we're getting new stuff made. It's just the beginnings, and like I said, at Flight Fest West, to be out there and see 7 crafts, that's the most we've ever seen. So we're excited. We are planning to do 4 races for the year, and the idea is that we do 1 per season, 1 per quarter. So we have the one in January, which is our winter. This is going to be our spring. Summer, we're probably looking at late July, sometime August. We need the community to make this happen. It's a social experiment in a lot of ways. Are people interested? And it really pushes the boundaries of new technology, because the technology that is out there is made for different reasons, which is the floating camera platforms. I love your motors, Zoe. The 900 kVs, I've seen what it's done. I can't wait to see what happens next when we get new configurations. Boris from Master Screw makes these incredible propellers that we've seen what the crafts can do at a different level. So thankful for him for what he's done for us, and the community and everybody who else has pitched in. Just thank you.
Yeah. And also talking about, kind of the technology and the size. And, I'd kind of like to refer to what Brian was saying on your podcast the other day was, just the size of these things gives us more opportunities to put more, widgets and doodads on them. Like, I really love his idea of the tail gunner camera idea. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And I'm gonna put one on. Yeah. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. We have all that real estate to do something with.
Yeah, exactly. We can do camera tracking, with GPS and all these kind of things. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And yeah, it feels like I almost want to say we're back at the beginning again,
It feels like it.
Yeah, we kind of are. I mean, we're in the blackout days again.
Big time. Like one of the biggest things that we're having troubles with right now, we have the crafts. We all have like 2 batteries each because they're so expensive. Yeah. So we're like, oh, wow, we have to pull all these batteries together and we'll charge. And if you crash out, can I borrow your batteries? Cool.
Oh, but you're on XT90 and I'm on EC5 and you got this whole thing.
Yeah, and we need an adapter.
Right. So yeah, it is the beginnings in a lot of ways, but it's exciting.
Yeah, awesome. So Justin, anything you like to add before we head out?
No, I mean, that's pretty cool though. I mean, it is like we did just like go back 4 or 5 years. But that's cool. I can't wait to see once these things get, a little bit more money into them, hint sponsors. Because I know from our standpoint, when other sponsors, i.e. like sponsors outside of the market that are trying to find real estate on like a team, they're like, oh, I want to sponsor a team. And they're looking at our mini quads about yay big. Right. And they're like, what can we do with that? And I'm like, you can't do anything with that.
Dude, advertising space, even
so if that had somewhat of a body, I mean, you got the Coca-Cola drone, and be very recognizable, red and some of the emblem on it. So, I mean, we're getting there, and I can see how the bigger we get, larger companies will be willing to invest in it. But I think we just need to start putting our heads together and see how we can make this happen.
Yeah,
most definitely. Yeah, and that's the thing. We're still on the stepping stones to that future. I know right now I wouldn't quite imagine that we're at the place that we are a year ago. We've come a long way. We've seen a lot happen. And, you know, the future, I think, is still a big, giant unknown, and it still has a lot of really cool bright spots left. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm gonna, as I think my podcast listeners know, I'm gonna continue. This is gonna be a continued topic of discussion on future shows about drone racing, the industry, where it's going, where it's at right now, the hiccups, the bumps, the bruises, all that kind of stuff. You know, because it's illuminating, and I think if we all kind of know the inner workings, we can all kind of put our heads together and move forward. Because, you know, it really does take all of us. We're a community. It's not just a single person. It doesn't all just fall onto a single person. You know, we have to really kind of coalesce. And the biggest thing that I want to see out of this next year of drone racing is that community spirit coming back. I want to see us grow and become that awesome fucking community that we were a couple years ago.
I really miss actually helping each other out in the forums instead of, you know, just bitching at each other and, you know, oh, well, mine can do this or that or whatever.
Right.
You know, I don't know what happened, but we need to bring it back.
Yeah. I think just acknowledging it is the first step into helping bring that back. You know, first step in fixing a problem is just acknowledging it. And now that we have kind of acknowledged it, hopefully the community will kind of take that and heed going forward. So yeah, I think that's almost it for the show. I want to thank you, Justin, again for coming on. Awesome conversation. Thanks to the X-Class guys, Kevin and Reiner. Damn.
I can get one little plug in. We're starting up a new podcast, the X-Class podcast.
Stealing my ideas, guys.
Well, you know, great minds think alike. We're trying to shoot for Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. on Spreaker.com. That's speaker with an R. You'll be able to tune in live. We have a chat room, all that kind of stuff. And we'll syndicate on iTunes and all the normal places. So tune into that.
Please do.
One last thing I just want to say. What I was really excited about 2016 was that fixed wings were brought into the mix. And I really would love to see more. I know there's a big community, but I really enjoyed watching fixed wings. And gosh, I hope that X-Class and fixed wings can fly together.
I know. It seems like there's a lot of crossover potential there.
Yeah. But man, the fixed wing guys and girls are just killing it. I really enjoyed it.
Right on. And yeah, that's another thing I kind of quick mention, like with the DSA going down, most of the organizations that are left have been focused squarely on mini quad racing. Wing racing has kind of gone to the wayside a little bit. You know, Alex Greaves is kind of picking that back up. Freestyle competitions have also been one to suffer. You know, that's something else that we've kind of lost in the mix. And I think these organizations should really take a serious look at racing wings and freestyle because they're untapped markets. You know, they're something that there really isn't a lot of competition for doing and could be done extremely well if a little bit of thought was actually put into it.
Yep. And talk about space for advertising. I mean, heck, you got a full wing for nothing but advertising.
Yeah, that's legit. Right on. So thank you all for tuning in. This has been the third episode of Dronelicious.show. You can check us out on iTunes. We're going to be out to Stitcher and all those other podcast awesome things soon. Check us out on YouTube, Airviews. Please watch on Airviews. And if you haven't checked out Airviews, check that out right now. Sign up, make an account. They're my biggest sponsor, and they're honestly one of the bigger sponsors of the drone racing industry. And, you know, they really do support a lot of pilots, and they make a lot of really cool stuff happen. And without them, I don't know if I'd have this microphone. You know, there'd be a couple things. It'd be much harder for me to do what I do. So support them, support that community, because it is, I think, the largest drone video-based community on the internet. And that is pretty freaking cool. So check them out and check out my latest video on YouTube of flying 3D through some trees. That was really fun. Check out Dronelicious on Facebook, the Facebook group. Join the Facebook group. I've seen a few of you join it, and that was pretty cool. I wasn't expecting as many people to join that as they have, and it's kind of turned into a small little home for the show. So join that group and keep it weird. Going forward, we will be kind of moving the competitions to a slightly different format. They're going to be kind of the same. They're going to be announced on Tuesdays. And to win and enter them, all you have to do is comment on the show live, like us on Facebook, and basically push out the show to your subscribers on Facebook, you know, kind of just promote the show, help us get it out there. It's really the biggest thing that you can do as a fan to help us out anyways, and this is just a way to kind of incentivize that. So this week's delicious giveaway is going to be $150 worth of propellers, some exclusive Zoe purple propellers from GemFan. And I'm really looking forward to getting that out on Thursday. So please like, subscribe, all those amazing things that you do, because I appreciate it. And thank you all for tuning in to episode 3 of the Dronelicious show. Thank you, Santiago, for all he has done. I think he dropped out a little bit early, but Santiago, again, the unsung hero of the show, he makes sure things go smoothly in the background when I am not around. So yeah, thank you all. And tune in for the next episode when I have Angela from FPV Racing Mexico, along with Ruben from Sweep Wings RC. And I believe I'm going to have on, let's see, there's a couple other people. Oh no, I feel bad. I have like 4 people on next week and I can't, or next episode, I can't remember them all. So just tune in for that episode. It's going to be really cool. Another kind of giant group. I like these big group. What? You said, Kevin? Sorry.
Oh, I just tune into every episode. Come on.
Just tune into every episode. It's going to be good. So yeah, that's a very long exit. But yeah, thank you all for Twitch chat. Again, I love you all. And see you on Thursday at 7 p.m. PDT on twitch.tv/Dronelicious.